Hello everyone, it's going to be Livestreaming with another video. This video is an update pertaining to the Buffalo massacre that occurred last year. Before I get into the new developments in my commentary, I would like to extend my continued condolences and support of not only the victims who are no longer here, but the survivors and the community of Buffalo as you continue to navigate the grieving process and processing this horrific event. I would also like to acknowledge the victims who are no longer here. They are Pearlie Young, Geraldine Chapin-Talley, Roberta Dury, Hayward Patterson, Andre McNeil, Margus Morrison, Chelstine Cheney, Ruth Whitfield, Catherine Massey, and Aaron Slaughter. It has been confirmed by numerous outlets that one of these survivors, Letitia Rogers, and 3 of the victims' family have filed a civil lawsuit in the New York State Court on Friday, May 12, 2023, citing the following social media platforms: Facebook parent company Meta, Twitch, which is owned by Amazon, Google parent company Alphabet, which owns YouTube, Snapchat owner Snap, as well as Discord, Reddit, and 4chan, which has been cited as a hate-filled website, alongside a body armor manufacturer, a firearm store, a gun accessories manufacturer, and the shooter's parents for a wrongful death lawsuit. Alongside Ms. Rogers and the victims' families, the Gifford Law Center to Prevention Gun Violence and the Social Media Victim Centers have also filed suit. This suit comes a day after New York Attorney General Letitia James filing a separate lawsuit against the gun accessories manufacturer Mean Arms for its sale to the shooter of a magazine with an easily removable lock that was used in the unaliving last year. In addition, last year, AG James released a report on the role of online platforms in the Buffalo shooting, in which she cited Fringe Platforms Fuel Radicalization, live streaming being a tool for mass shooters, mainstream platforms' moderation policies are inconsistent, and online platforms' lack of accountability due to the Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act, which states no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. It goes on to state that Section 230 protections are not obsolete, as it does not protect companies that violate federal criminal law. It does not protect companies that create illegal or harmful content, nor does it protect companies from intellectual property claims. In addition, AG James recommended some reforms as to creating liability for the creation and distribution of videos of unalivings, adding restrictions to live streaming, reforming Section 230, increasing transparency, and calling on the industry service providers to doing more. As previously reported, shortly after the massacre, the Republicans blocked the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act. As it pertains to New York state law, New York's Governor Kathy Hochul vetoed the Grieving Families Act earlier this year. The bill would have allowed loved ones to sue for grief and loss when determining how families can be compensated regardless of income. In addition, extending the time permitted to bringing wrongful action lawsuits to the courts by 18 months and allowing families to claim compensation. New York Governor Kathy Hochul cited that if the Grieving Families Act would pass, it would have unintended consequences on the economy that will drive up already high health insurance premiums in an op-ed. Now you will watch this news clip and I will be back with my commentary.
I never imagined this. I never imagined my daughter not meeting my father.
Kat was our legend.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about when all she did was go into the supermarket. 20 minutes. It was gone. 20 minutes she was dead.
I don't even know how we here in this country doing the same stuff we doing. Nobody should have to live like this.
You gotta hit them in their pocket because that's all they care.
It's all about money.
It's money.
Doing something most of us do all the time, right? Just picking up some groceries. Those are the families of the horrific Buffalo shooting massacre at a press conference earlier today, announcing a lawsuit against social media platforms, arguing that they facilitated the shooter's white supremacist radicalization. This Sunday, Mother's Day, marks 1 year since a man walked into a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood, killing 10 people, wounding 3 more with an assault rifle. The 144-page lawsuit from survivor Letitia Rogers and 3 of the victims' families was filed in New York State Court on Friday. The complaint names Facebook parent company Meta, Twitch owner Amazon, Google parent Alphabet, which owns YouTube, and Snapchat, the owner of Snap, as well as Discord, Reddit, and hate-filled website 4chan. Also named are a body armor manufacturer, a firearms store, a gun accessory manufacturer, and the shooter's parents. A lawyer representing the plaintiffs in a statement says this, quote, "This horrible crime was neither an accident nor a coincidence, but rather the foreseeable result of social media companies' intentional decision to maximize user engagement over public safety." Joining our conversation, NYU law professor and a former clerk to Judge Sonia Sotomayor, Melissa Murray, the Rev, Mara, and Heilman are all still with us. Melissa, take us through the law on this. What are the legal arguments that the families are making about the liability of all these companies?
Well, Nicole, they're actually relying on pretty traditional legal remedies here. It's a wrongful death suit, so they're essentially arguing that everyone who's named here, including those major companies, were negligent in causing the death of their loved ones. And what's actually really interesting to me is that although they're using a very traditional form of redress for victims of certain kinds of negligent episodes, they're actually focusing on the platforms and the way in which their algorithms direct certain content to users. So they argue that these platforms are not just services, they're essentially products, and they're products designed specifically to be addictive to certain personalities. And they talk about teenagers being especially susceptible to being groomed online for certain points of view. They talk about the rise of domestic terrorism online, and that these platforms are essentially creating a kind of product that fills people with hate and then inspires them to do these kinds of acts. And they're borrowing from the tobacco litigation of the 1990s, but they're also relying on more recent litigation, like, for example, the Supreme Court cases that the court heard just this term that talked about international acts of terrorism, but again, sued the companies, Google, Alphabet, Meta, on the ground that their algorithm directs individuals to certain kinds of content that makes them more likely to commit these kinds of violent crimes. So it really is a sort of traditional mode of litigation, but with a really modern twist, and one that shows that there's mounting pressure on these platforms to be more responsible in their content.
The conversation about the lawsuit is here. I know the grief is over here, and it's much, much, much greater than anything a lawsuit can avenge, but it is an important step, and I know you're in contact with all these families and hitting up there. Take us back to them and how they're doing.
I'm going up Sunday speaking at two of the churches on Sunday, and some of the families will be there. I did two of the families' eulogies. It's hard. Yeah. I mean, how do you explain to yourself, particularly on Mother's Day, that your mother, I did the eulogy for Miss Whitfield, Vice President Harris was there. She won't be here this Mother's Day. It's the first Mother's Day they have without their loved one. Whether you're a child and the mother's there, or whether it was your mother. And all they did was, as she said, go to the supermarket. And this guy chose Top Supermarket because that was the only major supermarket in the black community. So he knew blacks would be there. And I think from what I understand of the lawsuit, which I think is wise, is they're saying that it wasn't like this guy was not writing things on social media that should have put a red flag up, so that the people that are facilitating where he wrote didn't alert somebody, stop somebody. This guy basically had a manifesto and enacted what he said. And I think that it is very important what they're saying about a lawsuit. And there'll be other actions that many of us are going to talk about Sunday from Buffalo.
And thank you for bringing the story to our attention. I mean, Mara, it's not a technology reason why they don't do it. For child pornography, all of these, I don't know about 4chan, but all the other companies have technologies to see them, screen them, alert them, and do just that. It's a will. It's on the other side of the equation, right? The will.
It is the will, and of course, I want to be careful because victims of, child pornography have complained that their experiences have not been taken seriously by these companies either. These companies have resisted any kind of accountability whatsoever. And even though they serve as publishing platforms, they have not been treated as such yet by the law. At the same time, I think there's another layer here of extremism and racism and white supremacy and hatred and anti-Semitism simply not being taken seriously, as though it's a matter of the heart. Well,
or free speech, right?
Or free speech. Well, nobody is saying that you can't, the Klan can't march through Washington, D.C. They can. That's the First Amendment. That's why we're here. The First Amendment, great. Right. But when you essentially promote that ideology and you profit from it, first of all, it's disgusting and it's wrong. And secondly, if the American system of democracy and capitalism and the courts can hold you accountable for that, well, God bless, because it's not right and there should be consequences. So I just think that these families, I don't know what the legal case is here, but they have every right. And it reminds me in some ways of, families that go after the gun manufacturers.
Right.
Well, there are consequences. And so I think a lot of times American companies want to pretend like they are blameless, and they're not.
While persons may argue the First Amendment right of free speech, at the end of the day, 10 persons went to the grocery store on May 14th, 2022, and never made it back home, never made it back to their loved ones and their community due to free speech. And it is time for us to acknowledge that hate speech, misinformation, disinformation, aka lying, and other dangerous rhetoric does have an impact on social media platforms, and it does impact the public at large. I have witnessed and seen how when you speak out against certain forms of hate speech and telling your truth on these various platforms, how you will be either suspended or your account is taken from you. At the end of the day, the city of Buffalo witnessed a massacre on May 14th, 2022, in which 10 people lost their lives and 3 others were injured, in addition to witnesses who saw the horrific incident within the Tops grocery store. In addition to this horrific incident being live streamed and shared across various social media platforms, if that was not enough for one city to take, the city of Buffalo would then be gaslit and be disregarded by legislators, not only on the federal level, but on the state level. It is time for us to address these horrific mass shootings that are continuously taking lives. How many more of these stories must we conduct, track, before something is done? Thoughts and prayers cannot bring back our community members. What are we going to do as the people before the next generation experience this form of tragedy? Say their names, known and unknown. Justice for the city of Buffalo. And as always, please be safe out here, and I will see you in the next video.